Hey, what's up, everybody? It's DH Thorne here coming at you live. I see we don't really have too many out right now, but that's probably because I did not advertise this stream at all. In fact, I was late putting it together. So for those of you who are here and, have not introduced yourself or said hi, now would be a good time, but I do see some people here. I think I see Gogo here. So what's up, everybody? I don't really have a whole ton of stuff to talk about, but my sound check person told me that it sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate all you guys coming in. Not a lot going on. I'm sort of feeling a little bit like bleh today, so I may cut this stream a little early. We'll see how long we go. We'll see what kind of stuff I get into tonight. But yeah, so how's everybody doing? Give me a hello in the comments and we'll get going. What's up, Gogo? I thought I saw you here. And Hardcore Zombie, what is going on, my friend? So I'm sort of, I was sort of like of a mind tonight to just kind of like take a week off and not do a stream. I know it seems kind of silly. It's not like I do that much. But it sort of felt like, I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like blah today. I don't know how to explain it. I didn't clean my glasses. No wonder I'm like seeing everything kind of weird. What's up, Atropa? What's going on? But my light's doing the thing again. Like just as the stream started, it did it again. So I turned off everything. Hopefully it'll be good. What's up, Jinx? Haven't seen you in a good while. How you doing? How are you doing, Sinister Jinx? What is up? I assume that's Jinx Baby, but maybe not. If it's not Jinx Baby, well, welcome and nice to meet you. Nice to meet you if I don't know you. I'm very bad with names. Some people, like, it takes me a while to learn people's names, and some names I learn very easily and some I don't. Like, I am the worst at remembering names. If somebody, so like Fleshy, when we first met, he went by a different name than he does now. Like he has like me, an assumed name, especially for online interactions. And like, to me, that's cool. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And so when we first met, like, I learned that name, and when he changed his name, it took me like, I don't know, probably close to a year to stop screwing up and calling him the wrong name. But like, I'm bad. I remember when I was a little kid, my grandmother used to have to go through the whole family before she could get to my name. But the funny thing was, she'd do my name first. So she'd be like Dan, Tone, Jer, and all these different nicknames she had for all of her kids. And then she'd get to me, and I don't know what that was about. Like, it was kind of funny though. And I think I inherited that, whatever that is. So yeah, yep. Tropa says, oh, come on, you can do it. Yeah, you're probably right. What's up, Scott? How you doing, Scott? Scott says, hi, DH. Hi, everybody. Wyatt's here. Good. I'll have questions. That's good. Let's see. Tropa, Scott. Maiden of Liberty or Maiden Liberty. What's up? Just got back from Behemoth X video. What's up? Yeah, I have to check him out. I haven't watched his latest video. Does he have a new one up? I need to watch him. Like, I need like a timer, like somebody could be like, hey, we should have him. Well, he doesn't really use Discord. So I wish he was on Discord and he could like pop like in the Discord, like when he posts. That'd be good. Yeah. Behemoth X is pretty cool, man. Joe's a good guy. He's another one of those like white whales I want to get on the show. Like he's here all the time. Scott, if you're, I sort of remember your name. If you haven't, noticed, he's here a lot. So you get a chance to say hi to him. He's really cool. Like the thing is, like in this occult community doing what we do, he's one of the few that I give like sincere credit to. There's only a couple that I really do that I like to recommend. Like EA, of course, everybody knows EA, and EA is kind of like controversial for people, which I sort of understand, but I don't. Like EA, his content has always been decent. Yeah, sure, he's not like a classical, same thing with Behemoth. They're not classical magicians. They're not, hermeticists. They're not Golden Dawn guys. They are demonolators, okay, especially Behemoth X. And EA is a little bit like, he's sort of all over the place, which is one of the reasons why I like him. He covers a lot of different topics. And, obviously EA gets a lot of respect and credit. He also gets a lot of hate because as you get big and important, people give you grief. Obviously there's channels that are like more technically correct. Like you get Esoterica, like that guy's content. I don't think he practices anything, but his book learning is very good. Foolish Fish, another great channel. And I love Travis Magus Society. I love his channel. I stopped watching him a while ago just so I don't have the time. He's like me. He'll do like marathon live streams. And one of the things that he does that I haven't watched, but I do enjoy, is he'll go through the classics, like as a online, like he'll read like the books and go through it, you know, one live stream at a time. And that's actually really cool of him to do. And he really has a good uptake of it. Like he's not, how would I put this? He's definitely the real deal, you know, like he definitely puts it into practice in his life. So I like Travis Magus. He's another white whale I'd like to get on the show. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah. Oh, okay. Atropa, was he live or did he just post a video? He probably just put. Oh, he did do a live chat. I didn't know that. Now I feel bad. I gotta. How come? Let me check my notifications because I don't. For some reason, you know, I must have like. I hate when I get notifications for stuff, like for anything, and I'm like a terrible friend because I don't like watch to see. Yeah, it looks like he had a. Actually, that looks like he did a premiere. So I don't know if that was a live stream or a premiere, but I got to check a little bit more. I got to be more responsible. I'm going through one of those like low energy modes right now where it's just like, I don't feel like it. Like,
yeah, CJ says he posted the video, but the chat was live.
I got you. So it was a premiere. Thank you, CJ. Yeah. Okay. That's probably what happened then. Yeah. So what's up, Nanerta? What's going on? Wyatt says he's going to give everybody a free Flesh Priest plushie in the astral realm if you like this video. Flesh Priest. I couldn't even say it once. I almost said Flesh Priest pussy. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Maiden Liberty. Thank you. Yeah, Thursday's a good day for dropping stuff, guys. I mean, it's a power day, you know. It's Thor's day. It's Zeus's day. It's Jupiter's day. You know, it's also a very sensual day. Like, one of the cool things is, like, for the last couple of weeks, especially since I've managed, so I've sort of had, in fact, there was a video I was going to do. I'm kind of like, I'm organizing my thoughts here, forgive me, but the last week or two, I've been sort of detoxing both on social media and the global drama going on, and I'm sort of leaning back and I'm trying to be objective and accept that a lot of the crap going on in the world is going to handle itself because people are too informed. The other guys, the bad guys, are not going to get away with what they're doing much longer. All right, maybe it'll take a while, but you know what I'm saying. It's only a matter of time before so much stuff is getting exposed right now. I can't even say the words, but there is a group of people, Project something Veritas, and I'm just saying something to throw off the algorithms. And I shouldn't say anything more, but you know, you'll check that stuff up, check that stuff out. The things that were just released from that are pretty bad, pretty jaw-dropping, and you really need to check it out. This stream doesn't have a topic. I used to do topics a lot, Maiden. Usually when I have a guest, I used to like doing topics, but the problem with topics is that's usually just the opening salvo, and when I do topics, I tend to ignore the chat too much, and I'm really kind of here to hang out with the chat. Like, one of the things, I guess because I have, people say ADD is not real, but I beg to differ. Like, I can definitely tell, you know, when I'm distracted for a reason, for no reason, you know what I mean? And like when I was doing the classes through Patreon, it started off real strong, but after a while I just kind of got burnt out on it because I'm kind of like, I do better with questions. So when you see, like, you know, there's certain people that I watch, like some might call them gurus or whatever, but I watch these people and you can tell they're responding to questions from the audience, and that's how I am. I like that seed of a question to get me going. Like that's usually better for me. You know, I don't know what you guys need necessarily. Like, I don't know what since this is not like a formal thing, you know, I don't know what you guys need every week. And I'm not going from like a Bible where I can go through the Bible and have a lesson plan and all this. This is just a hangout, you know? So, the old man's closet. Oh, man. That's the other thing, the old man's closet. Yeah. Oh, the light's changing again. It's doing it. It's only on Thursdays. Whoever's messing with my light, that's messed up, yo. That's messed up. I'm gonna have to like disable the freaking the function here. Let's see. Let's change it to a completely different color, mess with its head. Yeah, that's really weird, man. It's only doing it on Thursdays, and I have all the scheduling off, so it shouldn't be doing this. Like, there's some kind of a major bug here. Like, I have every... Yeah, this light, all the different settings are off. It should not be changing. You know what it could be? It could be I have 2 light bulbs plugged in there, and it may not... Something about that may be causing a problem. Yeah, there it does it. But it is only Thursday, but it's also only Thursday that I put this color on, so that is a possibility. People are going to be laughing. Why is your light changing again, Thorne? Ha ha ha. Did you?
Some of the colors in that LED set, they do vary, go through gradients.
Yeah, but I have it on blue. Like, it's literally
okay.
just blue.
Just blue then.
So it shouldn't be doing that.
Shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Freestyling DH, that's true. Yeah, I'll be putting up a video, a really short one tomorrow. It's nothing fantastic. Someone sent me something in the mail, and I wanted to thank them. I don't see him here, but it's Conjure Mama, and that was really cool of them. She sent me some journals to use, and they're really pretty journals. I really like them, so I'll be using them. But yeah, you know, one of the things is it's going off what I was trying to say before. I was sort of getting, I was finally starting to realize what my sort of toxic attachments are lately, obviously for the past couple of years. And it really kind of goes back to the colossal shadow. You know what? Let me get a quick drink. Let me do that. This way I can sort of organize my brain a little bit. Oh no, there's nothing cold. Oh no. Nothing caffeinated anyway. Oh well. But yeah, I may end the stream a little bit early, guys, because I got a big night tomorrow night, which is another thing I want to talk about. I got a big night tomorrow night. For those of you who are in the tri-state area or can make it to Newark, New Jersey by a reasonable time, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, Iron Garden is active again. I will be there, and I'm going to be signing copies of the Infernal Vampire Handbook, as well as doing I Ching readings. So that's going to be a lot of fun for somebody, hopefully me, but it may not be. It may also be a major point of stress, but it should be fun. So I will be there signing books and other stuff. So if you want to meet DH Thorne in the flesh and get a free I Ching reading, because I am not charging for them, I'm just going to be taking donations. I'll probably put my hat on the table. So I'll just be taking donations for it. If people want to donate, that's fine. If not, that's cool too. I Ching is like a really easy system to do readings with, and it's not really about like it doesn't. I don't feel like charging for that. Not that I would do that all the time. This is like a special event. That's like their it's their something anniversary. I forget if it's like their 20th anniversary or something. And I am also going to be accepting citizenship most likely tomorrow night, either tomorrow or the next time, and so it'll be kind of fun for me and the wife and you know, Camilla, and hopefully we'll have a good time. But anyway, so in the last couple of years, you know, I have been pretty much like, you know, the Shadow Master himself has been pretty much dealing with the colossal shadow and not realizing it, and having a really difficult time. And let me reinforce so you guys understand what the colossal shadow is before people get it like misconstrued. Colossal shadow is from Shadownomicon, And the colossal shadow generally represents the archetype of anger and rage, but not just anger and rage, because that's obvious, you know, that's, people know, like, oh, I got an anger problem or whatever. It's also impotent rage. So like when you feel like a righteous anger and you're going after something, or let's say it's something you're supposed to be doing, or, you know, whatever, you can sort of end up, you know, in a really bad spot where you are in a kind of frustrated kind of anger. You can end up where, like, the needle's not moving, things are not changing, all of your efforts aren't working, and you just end up becoming toxic about it. And that's sort of where I've been at, you know, and I realized that what's doing it to me is social media mostly. Obviously, everybody knows social media is a toxic piece of shit. But it's my own fault because I'm keep sticking my head in the lion's mouth, so to speak, and doing things that I know are not good for my mental health. Doom scrolling, but not just doom scrolling, getting basically triggered and replying to people who are wrong and arguing and all this kind of shit, trolling. And, you know, there is a point where something that maybe isn't toxic by itself, like trolling people, can become that way. You know, I don't enjoy picking on people. I don't enjoy attacking people. I'm more like in real life, I'm more like an octopus or something like that. I like to sort of be a little reclusive most of the time, you know, like I don't like to go out and pick fights with people. I like to like live and let live, you know. The only time, it's not that I have a problem fighting, it's that I don't like all of that. I don't like the reasons for it. I don't like the pettiness. I don't like the toxicity. So I'm not going to say I'm non-confrontational, because it's not that I won't confront things. Some people have a problem confronting things. Some people, you know, they will back down every time. They will find ways not. For me, it's I pick my battles, and I only get confrontational when it's something I have to deal with. If it's not something that's a big deal for me, you know, like if someone just talks some shit, who cares, you know? You know, recently there was a little bit of drama in my community, sort of, and, you know, I had to confront that head on and ask questions of people, and people didn't like it, and some people came and some people left the server on Discord, and it was kind of sad because there's a lot of misunderstanding all the way around. A lot of people were getting the wrong ideas about things, and I don't want to make a big to-do about it because I still like those people. It's not like I dislike them, but whatever happened, you know, people left the server in sort of a bad, I don't want to say a bad mood, but they definitely had a bad take on what happened, and it was kind of sad. But the server's doing better. You know, one of the good things that came from that is the server's a little bit more on point now. It was kind of getting to be kind of like an edgy meme server, and that's cool, but it's kind of like all it was for a little while there. And again, no shade against those people. You know, I told them, like, look, I gotta guild it if you want to put your more edgy stuff there, you know, so long as you keep it within certain guidelines, I don't care. Like, no actual racism, no actual this and that. Yeah, that was kind of sad. But that kind of stuff is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't like to confront things unless it really matters. I don't feel it's my business to tell people what to think or do. You know, it's one thing to get on your soapbox and shout. It's another thing to get in people's faces and shout at them. You know, I'm more of the soapbox. I get on my soapbox, and if I get a crowd, I get a crowd. If not, if you try to heckle me, you know, I'll try to deal with it, or if it's not worth my time, I'll walk away. And that's how I think a lot of people are. But online, for whatever reason, over the years, I've sort of allowed myself, you know, to engage a little too much. And really, I really shouldn't, because a lot of that is fake. And when I say fake, I don't mean that it's not real for the people engaging in it. I mean, it's artificially inflated drama online. And I mean, like, when people start arguing about certain political issues, because a lot of times these are ideologues clashing. And, you know, I realized something I've always known, but I realized I was doing it wrong recently. I have a philosophy that I got, I guess, from my martial arts days. I had read in some book, some manual I was reading to learn certain techniques. that, you know, there was this story about this butcher, and this is a martial arts reference, but it was a story about a butcher, and he had like pristine butcher knives that he almost never had to sharpen, and everybody was like, you know, he was like the greatest butcher ever, and like, and when they asked him how he managed to keep his knives so in such good shape, he pointed out that he never cuts through the bone. He finds the joint and he easily just goes right through that, and so it never chips the blade or anything. And it's sort of the idea of taking the path of least resistance, you know, going with the flow, so to speak, but you still get what you need. And, you know, for years, that's sort of, I've tried to make that my philosophy. I don't sweat the shit that doesn't matter. I'm not saying I never do, but I try not to. And I also don't engage with ideologues. I've said on my Facebook many times, I am not here to argue with you. If I post something, this is not an invitation for a debate or an argument. This is not debate club. This is DH Thorne's opinion being stated. Do with it as you will. Take it, leave it, debate it in your own head. If I don't care what you think. I know it sounds really arrogant and shallow. If I care what you think, you're a friend of mine and you're in my inner circle and I want to hear what you have to say. If you're just some rando online, I am not here to it's like, imagine you're a boxer. Imagine you're I don't want to make it sound like I'm not Mike Tyson, but imagine you're Mike Tyson, right? And every scrub in the world wants to fight you. Do you go and you fight everybody in the world? No, of course not. You know, me, I'd love to fight Mike Tyson just to see what it feels like to be killed. You're like, oh, that's what it's like to have your soul punched out of your body. So it's not that I'm actually against, you know, debate at all. It's just that I prefer to debate with people who are being real. There's nothing worse than an ideologue or a disingenuous argument. People who are use sophistry and shit. And the internet is not really... People don't argue online to learn. They argue online to boost their ego. And when I say boost their ego, you know, obviously the ego doesn't exist. Like, I talk about the ego a lot, but the ego doesn't exist as a thing. The ego is just a set of beliefs and habits that we fall into as a cycle that causes us to become delusional and think that that's what we are. But these things, really, you know, people aren't arguing with you because they want to improve themselves or they want to learn, or even because they want you to learn. They argue with you to boost their own shit. And that's really what it is. It's really just to build their own self up. You know, maybe they disagree with you and somehow they feel like it's their business to attack what you say. So generally speaking, it's not worth it. And I have gotten into a bad habit where I go and when I'm confronted with an ideologue, instead of just letting them being wrong, I end up like going at them and I end up butting heads with them. And I'm like, they're never going to change their mind. Why am I arguing with this person? Like, why am I letting this person's ideas, you know, I don't need to argue with them to know their ideas, because usually when I'm arguing with somebody like that, they're almost arguing off a script. Like when you're dealing with an ideologue, they're not trying to spar with you mentally. They're actually they're playing like a collectible card game with you. In fact, that's the best analogy for most arguments, not just online arguments, but most online arguments. It's mostly like a collectible card games. People get ideas that they collect, and then they pull them out like Uno reverse card, whammy, whammy, whammy. And they pull out things that they think that are true, and they might be true, but they pull out things that they think are true that counter the other person's thing. But it's not really a game of intellectual, like, game. It's not really a game of intellect. It's a game of whack-a-mole with cards. And it's not really... It doesn't really show any intelligence, because most of the time the people only copy paste shit that they've heard from other places. Sometimes they put it in their own words, but most people don't even do that. You know, in my case, I try to put things in my own words, but I also try not to just copy things like that. I like to arrive at things on my own. You can ask Eddie if he's ever around again, which he should be one of these days. You can ask Eddie. I bomb his ears all the time with things that, you know, it's like I I know this thing, I come up with this idea, and I say it to him, and he's like, oh yeah, that's like from Kabbalah. I'm like, fuck. You know, like, great, someone else thought of it already. It's almost like that meme from South Park. Simpsons did it, because it's like everything I think I come up with that's fresh is found somewhere else. But I genuinely don't like to just copy pasta other people's brilliance. I do like to study the classics, especially things like Advaita and Neoplatonism, but it's different because I'm not copy pasting them. I'm comparing things that I already think or know or have knowledge of. And I want to compare what the ancients thought. And I like to update that to the modern era, you know? Everyone's an expert these days. That's right, Maiden. Yeah, Jose. And, you know, in some ways, this channel is my example of that. Jose says, that's one of the reasons why I hardly ever post or comment on Facebook anymore. So many idiots on there think they know it all. Now, I'm going to kindly point this out to you, not that you need to point it out because I don't want to be that guy, but you said idiots, which means you think you know it all, right? So I'm not arguing with you because I feel the same way. I look around and go, look at these idiots. Like, ugh, this is such a bad opinion. But I try to have the self-awareness to know that I'm doing that. You know, like I try to look at them and go, yeah, why are you saying that though? Like, why is it so important to point out that they're idiots like you're not? You know? It is a frustration thing. I'm sure that's why you're saying it, because you do feel like I'm so frustrated because I'm surrounded by idiots. And the Kabbalion, whether you think that's a great book or not, they point out that, you know, you don't cast your pearls before swine, and that's a lot of what this is about.
Maiden Liberty wants to know if he's still posting on BitChute.
Not so much. Well, BitChute pretty much copies my videos from YouTube. So if I post on YouTube, usually it ends up on BitChute, not always, but usually. Same thing with Odyssey that I'm also on, but I haven't been doing many videos lately. The last video I did was, last week, I think it was. So.
Yeah, super chat.
Hey, Patchy, what's up, brother? He says, this is why I don't debate politics or religion or spirituality anymore. And this is what my point is. Here's the problem, though. People, in their goal to stop the arguments and debates, they just end up being quiet. And that's not okay. So here's what I'm getting at, though. Let me reframe a little bit. Let me recenter on my point, and then I'll make the point. So I have realized that one of the main reasons I have been in such a funk the last 3 years is because of everything going on in the world. I am engaging with that online, and instead of just occasionally talking about stuff and trying to educate people, I end up arguing with ideologues which either don't believe what is really going on. They really think that the world is fine, and I mean, it's not great, but they figure, oh, there's no such thing as a big conspiracy to do this or that, or they blame the other side for it when it's clearly not them, you know. And you end up encountering these tribal idealistic people, and this becomes very divisive and very toxic, and you can't change them. The real goal of people that are trying to make change in society right now should not be to argue with the ideologues of the other side, because most of these arguments are already done. Now, what I mean by that is, let's take something like the gun control issue. The gun control issue has been settled for centuries. The founding fathers, with their documents, with their thoughts on it, as well as the Enlightenment thinkers that spawned all of this, they made and they proved the case that every human being has the right, and it's an inalienable right, to self-defense using whatever is the most up-to-date, useful, and effective tool that exists. That means, at least from a personal, you know, level, at the minimum, it means modern firearm technology. This is settled. I don't care what anybody says. Logically speaking, this is settled. Now, does that mean that people don't want to argue it? Of course they do. You will find that the people who don't get their way, they want to re-argue it all the time. This actually leads to one of the reasons why America has another law that says innocent until proven guilty and no double jeopardy. You cannot be retried for the same thing once you're found innocent. the way that our laws are meant to work in the United States when it comes to your constitutional rights is when something is identified to be a right, it cannot be revoked. So once it's determined, for example, that you have, so the First Amendment isn't just about freedom of speech, it's free association, which includes, it's freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of association, and that includes the freedom of speech. And that is an inalienable right. You cannot restrict it, you can only expand on it. It's pretty much bang, you can say whatever you want. That doesn't mean there's no consequences, you know, like liability if you say something that hurts people. What I mean by that is if I incite all of you right now to go riot, in a sense, I am responsible for that instruction. And so I can be potentially brought up on charges, and that's justifiable. I accept that. That's a reasonable limitation on freedom of speech, because it's not like you're restricting what I can say. It's just there are repercussions, and those repercussions are valid. So these people want to keep retrying this same issue, not because they want to expand your rights, but because they want to contract them. And under our system, the way it's meant to work, which isn't how it's been working lately, but how it's supposed to work on paper, the way it was written, was rights were not really meant to be revoked. It would take there's a reason why they haven't just taken your gun rights away, because it would require a process that even with the level of control that it looks like they have, they could never do. They would need a constitutional convention, and the first 10 amendments are pretty much written in stone. These are not amendments that are meant to be fucked with. They are part of the founding document. They are only meant to be expanded and applied. They're not, these are the most inalienable of the inalienable rights, okay? The first 10. Everything after the first 10 is a little bit more changeable. And you'll see we have like 25, 26 amendments now, I forgot. And those can be taken away much more easily, because most of those amendments are not protecting your rights. They are actually finding ways to augment the government's system and what they can do and can't do. Now that's of course what the first 10 means, but the next 10 and 20 or whatever, those are way more like, you know, sets up the ability for the government to tax you. That's not a right, okay? The amendment that gives them the ability to tax you is not a right that's been given to you. So that's way easier to remove, because you're not taking away people's rights by canceling the tax system. Okay, so the rights that are enumerated in the Constitution are under attack by people that are using, I'm going to say sophistic or sophistry. They're using sophistry as arguments against it. Now, the Sophists were very, very problematic in the ancient world when Socrates was still alive, and his like nemesis were the Sophists, because they had mastered a way to argue without being right. They learned all the effective ways to sway an audience using witty comebacks and insults, and this is why we have sophistry. If you look up the word sophistry, that's what it's referring to. It's referring to the arguments that they could use to create the perception that they were right, but they weren't always right. So his biggest foes, his biggest critics and his biggest enemies, his nemesis, were the Sophists. And the Sophists are back. Every civilization has their version of this group. It's the Pharisees, the Sophists, you know, the conservatives 30, 40 years ago, the woke now. Every culture has their intelligentsia, their we are right, you are wrong, no matter what. And they always operate the same way. They're always petty. They always use sophistry as argument. And usually it's the counterculture that has to be smarter to win and survive. Yep. Gar says, the older I get, the less things matter to me enough to get into conflict. I get that, you know, but there is that saying that it's a wise man who plants a tree even though he won't live to see it bloom. And there is something to that, you know, like even if for no other reason, it's part of my nature, probably because I'm Aries and I have all these fire signs and shit all over me. It's part of my nature to fight, and the fighting that we're doing is not fighting that it's like a dry heave. Like it doesn't come to anything. It's literally just masturbation. So, so they're trying to rehash the debate on the Second Amendment, and they do so by misrepresenting everything that they can find. And they try to frame the argument so that it's about safety, not about human rights. So the thing about a human right is it is not subject to pragmatism. A human right is a human right, and it has nothing to do with what is pragmatically, that's not to say it doesn't play a role, but it's not, a human right doesn't have to be pragmatic or practical. It's a human right. In the Second Amendment, you know, they'll sit there and they'll be like, well, America has 400% more gun murders than anyone else in the civilized world. I'm like, all right. When you say 400%, you're talking about out of per capita. So you're talking about instead of one person being killed, you're talking about 4 out of every 100,000. I'm not minimizing. I'm not saying that doesn't matter. I'm just saying you're gonna fundamentally change our Constitution to take away the rights of people, 80 million gun owners, no less. A sizable portion of them would shoot back if you go to take their stuff. So you're going to go to all this trouble, all this expense, and you're going to potentially kill or imprison hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands and thousands, probably tens or 20s, if not millions, tens or 20s of thousands, if not millions. You're going to do all this to those people. You're going to victimize them, kill them, harm them, deprive them of their property, just because you want to bring that down from 4 out of 100,000 to 3 or 2 out of 100,000. That's what you're going to do. You're going to kill millions potentially. It's the most disingenuous argument ever. It's nonsense. Oh, look at that. Thank you, sweetie. DK Blackenschlager, what's up, brother? I just came here to say how much I hate you. This is how you send hate mail? Windows 95 startup sound. Just kidding. Thank you so much for the low vibe video you did. Okay, I have to go now. Thank you, DK. I appreciate you, brother. Don't be a stranger. My Saturn is in Aries. Hey, that's a pretty good spot for it. Yeah. That'll make you very aggressive in your harvesting. Yeah, Maiden Liberty's right. If you all think creating a gun-free zone state is safety, y'all got another thing coming. Yeah. The safest place to be in the world is not a gun-free zone. I'm just telling you from being a New Yorker. You know, New York's a gun-free zone. That ain't a safe place to be, man. Especially at the right time of day in the right place. And usually those places are even more gun-free. So, look, do I have to explain this to you guys? Put in the comments if you need me to rant on about this, because I'm pretty sure most of you guys know. Because we can apply this same thing to magic. I remember I had somebody I'm still friendly with, last I checked. Maybe they ditched me or not. There was someone I knew on Facebook that was all about that black magic and cursing and all this stuff, but they hated guns. They're like, we need to outlaw guns, all over their Facebook. And they commented on something I put that was pro-gun. Usually, like I said, I don't like to go on other people's walls and argue with them. I feel like that's rude. You know, they came to my wall to argue, and I made the point to them. You're sitting here talking about death curses. And if I said we're going to create a law that makes your death curses illegal, you'd be all up in arms about it, right? Yeah, that's the freedom of our religion. What's there seen a death curse in a gun? So you're either telling me that you think curses don't really work, because why ban them if they don't work? You know what I mean? So you're either a liar or you're disingenuous, or both. You're a hypocrite at the very least. So the way I see it, my opinion is people on the left-hand path or anything resembling that, the neutral path, the no-hand path, even the right-hand path, your right to self-defense is, you know, it's just inalienable. Anybody who says you don't have a right to defend yourself with whatever is, the government doesn't get to tell you what the best thing to use is. Okay? It's one thing if the government says, I don't want you to have access to a WMD, because that is not the arms that the militia would use. That's not the arms that a civilian would carry. That's not the arms that any one civilian soldier military would carry. I know there's nuclear footballs and all that. I understand. But, you know, granted, in the times of the Constitution's writing, up until I don't know when, not that long ago, you can still own cannons. You can still have an old school cannon. There's people who do that, and they can fire real projectiles. They're not just to go boom. Like, people have cannons that they can shoot. They don't need a tax stamp. They're just part of you, if you live in America tomorrow, could go out and buy a cannon. Doesn't mean you can shoot it anywhere you want, but you can own a cannon. And in fact, there was a meme that was one of my favorites that says, the Second Amendment only protects the arms and weapons and things from that period. So you're restricted to muskets and shit. Okay, if I'm restricted to muskets, not only am I going to use that, I'm going to have a fucking a short barrel cannon aimed right at my front door, filled with grape shot, so that when somebody busts down my door, tally ho, bitch, boom, I'm going to blow the whole wall off my building and kill everybody in the neighborhood just to stop that burglar. Or you can just let me have my shotgun. Or you can let me have my AR. Or something like that. You pick. Which would you rather I use? You know? So it's nonsense, because once upon a time, people were legally, they could have frigates and ships with cannons on them without any problem. You could have a literal warship as a civilian, and the government wouldn't bat an eye. Guten Abend. Hey, Johan, I knew you were going to show up tonight. I actually knew you were going to show up tonight. What's up, Johan? I'm glad you did. I'm really excited, because I was thinking, watch, Johan's going to show up tonight because he ordered something recently and he probably got it. And I bet you he's going to show up tonight because it's been a little while. What's up, Johan? I should get you back on. Let me know if you want to come on maybe next week, and we'll do a live stream. It's been a little while since we had a good talk, and I've been kind of in the cave, not talking to people. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Wyatt, I don't know if things are actually going to fall. I think that a lot of this is set up to create crises so they can try to, you know, create division and problems. I personally think that this is all going to end up with some kind of a crisis, and something's going to step in, and it's going to go differently, you know? You know why I think that? Simply because if the elite really had the power to do what it sounds like they want to do, they would have done it. I don't think they have the power to do half the shit that people think that they're going to do. I think that the good guys have undermined their ability to pull this off over the last 20 years, starting with, yes, conspiracy theory nuts. And conspiracy theory nuts have gone around and undermined almost everything they were going to do by revealing it early. And it was one thing when only a tiny little minority of crazy people in the wilderness were talking about it. Now that it's coming out and being proven, and people were right, or right enough, you know, you don't have to get this is the thing that happens, is people, when you're arguing with people online, they expect you to argue like this is a science debate about gravity or something. And so, like, where's your evidence? Where's your proof? Where's your that? When it comes to conspiracies, when it comes to illegality, you don't need to have a smoking gun proof to start suspecting and acting on it. Okay? That doesn't mean you go out and you attack people or anything like that, but it does mean you're not irrational for noticing a pattern to everything. When you look at the system and you're like, why is everybody in the system that's part of the main establishment, whether it's left or right, why are they all coming after my guns? Why are they all trying to censor me? Why are they all trying to screw with my privacy? Why are they doing all of these things that I know are bad in a coordinated way with corporations backing them back and forth all at the same time? Why is it when one person gets deplatformed, they all the different platforms deplatform them? Why? You can't tell me that that's just coincidence, okay? That argument died 20 years ago, and it's been dying a slow death ever since, and it's really sad. It's really insulting to people's intelligence and because it does work, though. The average person doesn't want to know the truth because it's painful or scary or sounds crazy, and they don't want to be crazy, so they run away from it. But the other end of the spectrum is you can go too far crazy. You can go too, just like the woke, go too far. You know, like I often talk shit about the woke, not because I disagree with everything that they say. My disagreement with the woke side of things is not a matter of binary, it's a matter of degree. I want LGBTQ people to be respected and loved as people of our society, but that doesn't mean I want them, you know, having drag queen story hour with children necessarily. It depends. A lot of nuance there, you know what I mean? If a child runs into someone who's trans, that's fine. What's the harm in that? Or runs into someone who's a drag queen, there's nothing harm with that. I don't want to get too controversial here, but there's a nuance here. It's usually fine. It's just you get some people who go too far, and they'll be like, put the dollars in my G-string. That's a hard line for me. That's a hard line for me. Nope, not okay. And I don't know anybody who's actually LGB that looks at that and says, no, that's good that they're putting dollars in the G-string. Nobody thinks that. And that's an artificial, highlighted, false ideology. No one I know thinks that way. And I know a lot of LGBT people, obviously. Nobody thinks that way. That's not a problem. But it's made into a problem because there's extreme people on both sides that want that to be the argument. You've got people on the left that want to make that the argument, and so they do these things and they push these things. But the other side highlights it. So you've got the hyper fundy conservatives who, anytime there's like an LGB parade, they're there. There's more of them there with cameras than other people sometimes, and they're just looking for anything that they can point the finger at. You know, remember the Westboro Baptist Church guys? Remember them? Remember those people? They're still out there. They're a real problem. So yeah, it's not that I have a super duper problem with the fundamental ideas of liberalism. Obviously, as a libertarian, I'm very liberal by nature, but I'm not economically left, and I'm also not Marxist in my thinking, where it's like, okay, this group has been ostracized or outcast for so long. Justice means that everybody else now has to be brought down to their level. I'd rather rise people up, but do so not by giving them a boost, but by leveling the playing field so they have a chance to compete fairly. I want people of different backgrounds, religions, races, creeds, all that to have a level playing field. That's all I want. And I think that's fair, you know? Yeah. I'm going to read some comments so I can see what to talk about. Because I didn't want to go off into this territory too much tonight. I really didn't. It just came up. That's my fault. But so I've been arguing with ideologues rather than just trying to awaken normies to the truth. You know, one of the things that is obviously true, and in the last couple of years has been hard even for me to articulate or even prosecute as my worldview, has been, you know, especially lately, it's that if you spend any time on the two different extremes of social media, like left versus right, when you listen to people on the so-called left, they're saying a lot of the same things about the right that the right is saying about the left. We're all pedophiles. We're all corrupt. We're all racists and bigots. And we're turning around to them saying, you're all woke. You're all pedophiles. You're all this and that. You're all the real racists and bigots. And it's just a bunch of tit for tat. And it's really fucking sad and disgusting, because if both of these two parties that are fighting right now and saying, you're a communist, well, you're a capitalist. You're a communist, well, you're a capitalist. You're a pedo, you're a pedo. If these people would just stop for about 2 days and just look at the ones that are actually doing it instead of each other, we'd probably get this fixed in a year, tops. If people would just objectively look, turn off all the mainstream sources. If you trust the mainstream sources, that's your own fault. Your brain's broken. That's like trust. How many of you guys know the shell game? How many of you guys know the card game? That's like if you go into New York City in like the 80s and you see some dude at the table with the cards, you walk up to that like an idiot and play the game with them because that dude's about to take your money. Okay? So if you're somebody watching Fox or MSNBC or CNN, you're literally letting someone who's a hustler play you. That's literally what you're doing. Even Tucker, who I often agree with, I watch these people as sparingly as possible because it is just pure filtered, like the Crystal Skull vodka. It is pure, just filtered propaganda bullshit. Just being you're just gargling it. Turn that shit off. It's just corporate propaganda. That's all it is. You cannot go by that shit. Even when they're being honest, you have to ask the question. What is the ulterior motive for you reporting on this? What's the ulterior motive, for example, even on the side that I am associated with, the MAGA side, what is the ulterior motive for some of these things that are being exposed and talked about, but not being talked about on that side? So, for example, there are things that the Trump and MAGA people do which are also against what I believe in. But those things don't get talked about much because they don't want you to know it. They want you to think that they're pristine, perfect, and good and can do no wrong because optics are everything. And on the other side, they lie through their teeth constantly. That's not to say that I don't prefer one side over the other, but it is a fact that you shouldn't trust anybody in power. These aren't your parents. These are people who literally want to put you under their thumb forever. And they're not doing it in a way that is for your benefit. That's right, Maiden. Infighting is good for them. You know, I mean, I've had plenty of people who are leftists as friends over the years, and we've never had a huge problem until recently. And it became a problem because instead of just disagreeing about whether we should have some welfare or safety nets, you know, social safety nets that we can sort of, it is now you're a racist and a bigot if you don't think like me, or you're a pedo and a woke idiot if you don't think like me. You're a commie if you don't think like me. And you can't come back from this. We are reaching a precipice where people are going to have a lot of regrets. And when I say regrets, I don't mean like, oh, well, I feel bad. No, it's going to be like, shit, what happened? Like, this country doesn't function anymore. I can't walk down the street anymore. Why are we, I lost family over this. I lost friends over this. And sometimes that's fine, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it was not the right thing. What's up, Draconian? What's up? Yeah, Maiden, and even the alt media now, because the alt media is becoming such a major player, the alt media is infiltrated as well. Look at the current thing between Crowder and Daily Wire. I got news for you. I don't trust Crowder either. I trust him more than Ben Shapiro. I think Ben Shapiro is a little elf that's just, he's a piece of freaking tradcon fundy trash. But so's Crowder to a lot of degrees. I prefer his version of things because he backs it up with logic and stuff that's better, but I don't want the world ruled by Crowder. I want Ron Paul, motherfucker. If every politician was Ron Paul, I wouldn't even have to look at politics. I'd be done. If every politician was Ron Paul, I mean, if you know who Ron Paul is and what he stands for over the years, like, when people say, like, I don't like Ron Paul, I go, what the hell is your problem? I don't understand. His version of freedom leaves room for everybody. He worked with Bernie Sanders a few times. He didn't have a problem because they both agreed who the problem was. It was the Federal Reserve. And that, for a while, that's why I could be friends with Bernie bros, because we kind of agreed on the problem. We had a different solution, but we didn't fight each other over that. We were both targeting the main problem, which was the Federal Reserve and the corruption. We both agreed that was a problem. We disagreed on the solution. We agreed on the problem, and that's usually enough because it means that we both have the same fundamental value. We think it's wrong to impose heavy taxation on people and limit their freedoms and shit. We think that's wrong, and yay! We don't have to agree on the solution. We just got to at least agree that there is a problem and what it is. Because then we can debate the solution on amicable terms. But something happened where that group of people no longer are okay and we're not okay. Like those two groups, we stopped going, we both see the same enemy, and we've started to go, I think you're the enemy. And that was them that did it. When I say them, I'm saying the people that we used to realize was our enemy. They turned us against each other. And man, that sucks. That really sucks. Good, Alpha. Don't watch the news. Deprive them of ad revenue. Don't watch them. You know why that's really cool, too? Because when you're depriving them of that, they have to go to measures to get it back. And so what you've seen is big tech and big media are basically the same entity now. So YouTube favors CNN and all these other companies over independent journalists. Even my content gets demoted if I even mention politics. So, because I'm not one of their preferred people. Yeah, Jockster, and we're kind of at a point. Jockster says those in charge make the harsh changes slowly but consistently. Shaking a sheep awake will make it freak, but light, consistent tapping will calmly rouse it from its slumber. And unfortunately, we're reaching a point where more of the sheep got to wake up quick because they were starting to get woked in the good way. I mean, they were starting to get awakened, and especially the last 3 years in particular. Woke a lot of sheep up, but a lot of them, since life is sort of going back to normal, and because the normal includes an extra stress, which is the recession / coming depression and everything else, because of this inflation and shit, they're so busy trying to make ends meet, they don't have time to be mad at everything else. So they're not going to look into the deeper issues. They're too busy trying to put food on the table. And that's how authoritarians have always ruled people, is by creating scarcity for the people so that they've got to work extra hard to pay their taxes. And so that, here's the whole point of things like taxes, by the way. This is like if my great granduncle, the 33rd Mason / one of the richest people on earth at the time, were to reincarnate and sit next to me right now and to tell me the truth. The truth is this. Here's the truth, DH Thorne. Taxes. That's not so that the government can pay for anything. Taxes are so that we can control you. That's it. That's the whole reason for taxes, to control you and control the businesses that are not us. That's it. Regulation, government, that's all regulation's for, is to control you and them and to empower us. That's it. Why do you think the people that are so when people on the left are like, we need to regulate these industries. Okay. Fair enough. Let's say I agree with that, which on some level as a laissez-faire libertarian, I don't, but let's say I agree with you with that for a minute. Okay, who's going to write the regulations? Well, obviously it's going to be the companies because they know what's best for them. So you're going to have the foxes guarding the hen house to write the regulations. That's what we have. Why do you think Big Pharma can get away with what it's getting away with? Because it's literally a revolving door with government. It's always been that way. So what if I was gonna be like Fight Club and give you guys homework, I thought you'd like the hand puppet. I knew somebody would like that. If I was gonna I should just get like a stuffed animal or a hand puppet and talk to it. That'd be fucking hilarious. Give me a sock, honey. Give me a sock with some with some googly eyes on it. If I was gonna give you guys some homework and you really wanted to do some good in the world this week, between now and next Thursday, find a reachable normie and just set them on a path. Just don't tell them the whole thing. Don't Alex Jones them. I wouldn't Alex Jones anybody, to be honest with you. No, instead give them a reasonable question or a reasonable doubt. Go find something like a trail of breadcrumbs for them to follow. Find something that they're concerned about and drop a breadcrumb in their lap. And don't drop them a breadcrumb in the form of, go follow this controversial guy's channel and listen to what they're saying. Instead, just be like, hey, did you see this project rhymes with HOTAS? Go watch this Project HOTAS thing that was just revealed about Big Pharma. You know, just watch this. Don't even tell them what it is. Just be like, hey, you know what? Did you see this? And just, wow, that's crazy. People, here's the thing. When you confront people with things, if you show them the source first, a lot of times they'll immediately have their hackles up. They'll harden against it. If you're like, if you take stuff that Alex Jones has said and just re-say it, like put it in your own words, it tends to hit better than if you go watch this Alex Jones speech, because people are inoculated against that. People have been taught to hate that. This is called the Agent Smith effect, and it's a very real effect. The Agent Smith effect. It's a terrible effect. Project V. Yeah, that's a good way. Thank you, Maiden. That's a good shorthand. Project V. And I got news for you guys. A lot of people think that that's all like undercover gotchas. A lot of that is whistleblowers with no other way to come out and say it. A lot of those people are whistleblowers that if they were to blow the whistle, they'd get in more trouble than if they do it by accident. They may lose their job. They may get in trouble. They may have violated some NDA or something. But when you do it with intent, that can get you killed. So don't be surprised if in your psychic meanderings you come to the conclusion that some of them are actually whistleblowers that needed a way to get the stuff out without being fingered and getting killed. You know, it's a lot easier. Like, you're still in trouble when you get caught doing that, but the amount of trouble you get in is so much less, I guarantee it. You maybe lose your job and your reputation. You don't get your life taken away. All right, let's change my subject. Give me a more magic, mystical, spirits type question or comment. Give me something else to riff on, because I don't want to get down to this. I'm just kind of ranting on shit that you all already know. I don't think anybody listening to me right now. I'm not really reaching any normies with this. You guys, this is I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm pretty sure. So there might be one or two of you that don't see eye to eye on everything I'm saying, but I think more of you do now than you ever did before. I think, you know, how many of you guys in 2020 or 2019 or 2018, if I was talking like this, would you pay any attention to it? How many of you guys 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, would have heard what I was saying and thought that I was sane? Be honest. Put in the comments, how many of you guys only started to realize that what I'm saying might be true since 2020 or because of 2020? How many of you guys woke up because of 2020, 2021, 2022? How many of you guys started to really look and realize? And how many of you guys knew it for a lot longer? Just let me know in the comments. And I'm not taking credit for this because I'm not informing you. It's the world's informing you. The world is revealing itself to you. And that's a fact. Which should scare you, because it's like in Star Trek, you know, the Klingons would decloak before firing. And that should scare you a little bit, because if they're not as afraid of you finding out certain things, you know. And I realize I asked you guys a lot of questions. Like, people are saying nope and yep, but it's like, which question were you responding to? Because I asked like 12 different questions in different ways. Yeah, Johan, I know you've been pretty on the ball. I know you've also changed your politics a bunch over the last years, but you, like I said, there's people on the left and right. We both identify the problem. It's just the solution's often different in our minds. And I think a lot of us, one of the reasons why it sucks to be us is because our spirituality doesn't belong to the side that's fighting globalism right now. Our idea of spirituality has been completely and utterly co-opted, and I say that literally, has been co-opted by the globalist system, because it's been a wedge to use against the traditional conservatives. And so our idea of spirituality has been protected and even boosted a lot. But here's the news that I got for you guys. Give it, I'm going to say 10 more years. If nothing gets fixed, if these people continue to have their control, in 10 years or so, Satanic Temple is going to start getting in trouble. Wicca is going to start getting in trouble. All these little side beliefs are going to start getting canceled one by one. I hope we don't live through this. The good thing about this prediction is I predict it's not going to happen, because I don't think we're going to get there. But if things don't go the right way, you watch. Secular atheism is the religion they want you to have. Oh, Wyatt, you call me fucking crazy anyway. Yeah, revelation of the method is a real thing, Johan. Even if it's not like a perfect theory, it's absolutely what they do. But the other side of that coin is there's white hats out there too, so to speak. That's like the whole Q thing. So you got the white hats thing. There are people that are revealing what they're doing to try to expose and stop them. The question is, how much of this is really a dualistic problem? Back in 2020, I had a flickering realization that this is not what it looks like, that this is a crucible, and that the hidden masters, as I call them, maybe they're evil, maybe they're not, but one possibility is that they are making all of this happen because they're handing us a choice. They're saying, look, you've had thousands of years of slavery in one form or another. Slavery, chaos, injustice. And through the Enlightenment era, we allow, the Illuminati, shall we say, through the Enlightenment era, set humanity free from those old systems. And it worked really well, and we started building up like a virus on this planet. And so now they're holding us like two hands. The Great Reset on one hand and the Great Awakening on the other. And they're saying, hey, this is not a game. We're going to propagandize you. We are going to kill you. We're going to harm you. We're going to do all this. But this is so you can decide, as a species, which do you want? Do you want slavery for another 1,000 years or so? Or do you want to free yourselves once and for all from this? Which one do you think is going to happen? Now, some people are going to say, well, the Great Reset's going to happen because everybody's so stupid. That's a very cynical view, and it's a very valid one. But the good news is, in history, the good guys don't actually have to be the majority. Certainly not the true majority. They don't even have to be the biggest minority. The American Revolution was won by less than 3% or about 3% of the population. That's all it took. Do you think that that meant everybody else that was American was on the side of George Washington and the revolutionaries? No. A lot of people were loyalists to the crown, especially in the urban zones. Interesting, huh? That's right, CJ. It's crazy how the good guys always win in history, isn't it? That's because history is written by the winners, obviously. Yeah, that 9/11 moment was a big one. I was too young to get it. I thought it was real. Took me a while. Took me almost 10 years, I guess. Almost 10 years. All right, CJ wants to change the subject. What are your thoughts on The Who? I mean, musically, I love them. I don't know much else about them. I actually seen them. Hey, honey, what have we seen The Who? 3 times or 2 times?
Twice.
Twice?
Yeah.
We've seen them live twice because they've been in New York twice.
September 13th this past year and September 17th the year before.
Yeah, September 13th this year and September of the year before. Yeah.
Irving Plaza.
Irving Plaza. Okay, yeah, and Jones Beach Theater. It was a good show, too. I like it. They do really good. I was a little disappointed at their Jones Beach performance because they did, like, what, 3 songs, 4 songs? It was really too... They should have done a full set. I don't know why they didn't. I guess they wanted to give more room for... Yeah, they had too many bands. What was it? Disturbed was the... No, Five Finger Death Punch.
It was Five Finger Death Punch, The Who, and Fire from the Gods.
Right, and of course Megadeth, which wasn't the main event. They opened for Five Finger Death Punch, which is kind of depressing for me. Megadeth should always be like the headline.
Yeah.
Kind of sad to me. I know Megadeth is getting old and everything, but come on. Five Finger Death Punch versus Megadeth? It wasn't even as big a concert. When we went to go see Megadeth as the headline, and a whole bunch of acts that I didn't care about, that place was full. Almost. I mean, it was way more full.
That place was packed.
Yeah, it was packed by comparison, at least. Like the cheap seats are always got some room, but the main seats weren't. So, dude, their music's amazing. I love their music. They have a bunch of songs that I really love. And you're right, on Jedi Fallen Order, that was a dope track to play on it. That game came out good. I don't care what anybody says. I know some people didn't like it, but I agree with the people who liked it. Jedi Fallen Order was the best fucking Star Wars game in a long time, especially that has to do with Jedi stuff. Like, oh man, Jedi stuff is like my favorite part of Star Wars. I know some people hate it, but yeah, Johan, I was only 18 or whatever at the time. So when that happened, I forget how old. I think it was close to 18. Yeah, I was 20, 21. I think it was 21. And I wasn't with it. I didn't know it. I didn't know my ass from my hole in the ground. I really didn't know. And when I saw that, I was like, yeah, we need to go after the Middle East. Maybe I'll join the military. Yeah, screw these people in the Middle East. Let's get them. I was one of them. And you're not an American if you're against us attacking Iraq now. That was me. I really believed in the mission, so to speak. I really, if I was a little skinnier and had a little bit more oomph in me, I probably would have joined the military and done something. I'm glad I didn't. Man, would I be full of regrets now. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how that could be anything other than, at the very least, an inside job, let alone, it's probably, most of the people that I talk to that know structural stuff agree. Not everyone, but a lot of them. Never heard of Deathless Legacy, Johan, actually. CJ, thank you. There's some meat and potatoes. He says, well, I got a comment on the 9/11. He says, I was at his dentist appointment on 9/11. Ouch, man. That has to suck. But he says, thoughts on Jediism as a magical system. Very valid, except I would augment it with a non-dual perspective. In fact, I would avoid Jediism, and I would go more with maybe the gray Jedi stuff. My problem with Jediism is it's very it's very right-hand path to the point of absurdity in a lot of directions. But you have to understand, Jediism was patterned after Taoism, basically Zen, and stuff like that. It was mainly patterned after that, and some New Age stuff. So Joseph Campbell, who was very instrumental in creating Jediism and all the Jedi stuff, like he was very instrumental in Star Wars. He did a lot of work with Lucas. Was very instrumental in that, and he instilled in Lucas a lot of the things, I think, that went into it. And I don't think it was, who was the other guy? It's Lucas, somebody I can't remember the name of, and Joseph Campbell. And the guy that I can't remember the name of, he quit the project after Empire Strikes Back. I can never remember his name, but a lot of people said that most of the parts of stuff, basically everything that we love about Star Wars, barring the special effects at least, didn't come from Lucas. It came from the other guy. I can't remember his name though. And he did episode 4 and 5. So I wish I could remember his name. I'll have to look. Sith is the same problem, Maiden. Sith is no better. I mean, Sith and Jedi, they're both ideologue, opposite, dualistic. They both excise the other side. So the Jedi don't do shadow work, and the fucking Sith don't do. Well, they're even worse because they're evil for evil's sake, which is just silly. Yeah, Tropa. One of the reasons I like bands that play holes in the wall, especially when they still become famous, like Typo Negative would still play hole in the wall bar type situations. Like they could fill a small, like I don't know if they could fill a major arena. Like I don't think they could fill like Jones Beach, but they could fill a pretty decent ballroom, right? Like especially in the city, and they would still play little clubs that had maybe like a 200 person head count, you know. And that was wild to me. Like they would still play little shows like that. I just thought that was cool of them. And they used to always do Halloween shows. Like that's why I miss Typo, man. Typo was cool. Typo was the music of the people, man. One finger death poke. Thank you, CJ. So you want the better system, Maiden of Liberty or Maiden Liberty? Take Jediism and Sith and Grey. Take that whole thing and distill it into one thing. And would I suggest you follow it? No, but if you're looking for a fantasy spiritual system to follow and you're a total noob, you could do a lot worse than that. A lot worse. I mean, I'd probably aim you at something more real, but at least from an aesthetic point of view, I think it's cool as shit. Like, you know, I mean, I'm a fan. At least I used to be till Disney ruined it.
Be careful what you say. They allegedly ruined it.
They allegedly ruined it. Thank you, honey. Don't want me to get in trouble with the censors. Oh, man. Yeah, CJ, there is no light, there is no dark, there is only the Force. I mean, yeah. One of the things that's cool about the Star Wars mythos is that they actually do demonstrate this concept through the whole storyline, at least up till Return of the Jedi anyway, and the extended universe for sure. The whole, 7, 8, 9, they don't exist. I think those are made up. I think those are fanfic. They don't count as part of the Star Wars universe for me. They're a big company just took over and added that in. I like everything else. Like almost everything surrounding it is fine. Those movies ruined it. I can't speak to some of the newer stuff, but I loved Rogue One was decent, and The Mandalorian was good. At least the first 2 seasons were good anyway. Right? We saw the first 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 2. We didn't watch the other ones. Those were all cool. Yeah, exactly, CJ. The sequel trilogy is not canon. Like, just just expunge that as canon. Watch it if you want, but treat it like episode 1. Like, that's like, you know what? Treat it like those really bad Earth, what was it? Life Day, like those Life Day movies that they did, like, and the Ewok movies that they did. Like, they're there if you really want them, but they don't exist. They don't matter. Stick with the old stuff, and stick with the stuff that was the extended universe canon. That's all good stuff. But yeah, Kreia is cool. Yeah, you talking about yeah, Kreia actually. All right, let me jump in, Jockster. Kreia from Knights of the Old Republic 2. That I was on her side. Like, even right to the end, I was like, oh man, you were playing me the whole time. That was one of the best. Whoever wrote that knew what they were talking about. That's all. Whoever wrote Kreia was not a novice at spiritual metaphysical. They knew what's up. They were either philosophy majors or something. One of my favorite scenes was such a Zen thing or Buddhist thing. There was a scene where you get off of your ship, and I think I don't remember what planet you're on. It might have been, I don't even remember. I'm not even gonna fuck it up by thinking I know. Might have been Coruscant. I don't remember. They end up on a planet that's like a city, and they get off the ship, and this poverty-stricken guy walks up to you and starts begging for money. And no matter what you do, you learn a lesson. If you give him money, Kreia says, "Why did you do that?" And you're like, "Well, I wanted to help him." And she's like, "Well, you just deprived him of a challenge," and you see him go off and be a dick with his money. And then if you don't give him money, he goes off and gets mugged. And it's like, there was a lesson on either side. And that was actually one of those moments where I understood the difference between real compassion and insincere, egoistic compassion. Like when you're just trying to act compassionate on purpose because you think the right thing to do is give somebody help. Oof, that was a good sequence. Yeah, I tried to play them again. CJ brought up Knights of the Republic 1 and 2. I tried to play them again, but they didn't age well technology-wise. I really wished, I know they were going to remake them, and I was really excited. I think there was a fan remake, actually, and they were doing it, and then they got canceled, basically, which really depresses me, because I loved both of those. They were both really good. But that's kind of what, in some ways, Fallen Order scratched that itch. Fallen Order really scratched that itch for another Knights of the Old Republic, and it did it in a way that it was nostalgia on steroids, because it was set just before the events of, I forget how many years before episode 4. I think Luke is still young. I forget the time frame. I think isn't that in the time frame of that other animated series, not the Clone Wars, but the other one. What is it? The Rebels or something? I love it. I loved. In fact, Fallen Order is probably my favorite Star Wars anything in a long time. It might even be my favorite Star Wars anything. Like, I know that's high praise, but it just hit at just the right time, and it was just a great fucking. The story was decent, the gameplay was good, and it had that good Jedi and weird alien vibe that I really miss in Star Wars. Because Star Wars always had that that alien cantina feeling, that just weird shit, and like the weird shit was what I liked about it. And then over time, it's just gotten so normified that it's like you don't see as many aliens and things, and there's no cantinas, and even when there are, they're lacking. I think what they're lacking is the practical effects vibe. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It feels like the practical effects vibe is missing, because if you look at Jabba's palace, or the even just that original cantina from episode 4, like when they tried to redo it in the later movies, and even the remake, even in the prequel trilogies, it didn't hit the same. Like when you go back to Tatooine in episode 1, it didn't have that vibe. It just was like, okay, it's dry and here's some flying dudes, and it didn't feel as real. It felt more phoned in, I guess. Yes, CJ, that's right. Jabba was a fat dude. He wasn't supposed to be a worm. I don't remember I don't remember if he was always written to be a worm and they couldn't do it, so they had him as some fat dude, or if he was always supposed to be a human looking dude and then they turned him into a worm. I don't know which. But yes, in the uncut version, there is a scene with a dude that's fat and obnoxious that was Jabba. Yeah, and it was done. But then they committed a cardinal sin and they added the scene, but then they put Jabba slithering along like a snake. Dude, that was terrible. They should have just... I hated when he like fixed those movies. I hated when he fixed them. He didn't fix them. He made them terrible. I mean, the machete cut is the only way to watch Star Wars. You got to go 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, and then if you want to watch 1 as a prequel, you can do it. Because I didn't hate 1. I just didn't like 1 was good, but of course Anakin sucked. Anakin sucks in all the movies. I didn't like Anakin in 2 and 3 either. But if I had to say 2 and 3 was better. It's just, the whole pod racing hour, that just sucked. Could have done without that. Even Jar Jar Binks didn't piss me off as much as all that shit. Yeah, episode 3 has the... I mean, that was cool, but it was... Look, you can't... 4, 5, and 6 was... It defined generations, not just my generation. It defined your generation. Some of you, if you're older than 20, it had a major hand. I'm gonna say if you're older than 25 for sure, but if you're older than 20, Star Wars is a major part of your collective conscious cultural norm. If you're under 20, it's still a major thing, but it's like I don't get it the same way. Like I bet you, like Wyatt said, he only liked the original trilogy, I guess, which is actually pretty telling. Like Zoomers, like you guys are very Gen X light. Like Gen Z is basically Gen X, but like you got cell phones. Like you guys are a lot like Gen X. And I bet you that makes you happy to hear, because I know Gen Z likes 80s stuff. I know Gen Z is very big into 80s stuff. I know from my son and all of his friends, they love Gen X stuff. Like it's... You know, they like movies like Pretty in Pink and Star Wars. They love that shit. And I'm glad to see it, because I feel like Gen X, of all the generations, is still getting ignored too much. Like, why are they still playing my mom's generation music in all the stores? How come I'm not hearing Duran Duran in the stores, man? How come I don't hear, you know, Oingo Boingo or something in the stores anymore? Like, all that shit's gone. Actually made Liberty, you said it right the first time. Millennial herd. That was... I'm kidding. No, CJ, you don't do 1, 2, 3. You got to skip 1. It's 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. 1 is an optional. I'm kidding. What's happening, hot stuff? Sexy American Girlfriend! Oh god, I love that guy. He was also in UHF, another one of my favorite movies. Who liked UHF? Raise your hand in the chat if you liked UHF. UHF, I was in a bad funk the other day and I watched it at my mom's house for dinner. And it brought me back to such a much more healthy vibe, because that used to be like, I don't know, dude. That movie was definitely an anthem of my people.
It's like having comfort food.
I don't know why. Every generation hates their generation until they get older. You might be right. I'm not saying all you guys are cool. I'm just saying the cool kids in Gen Z are cool like Gen X was. That's all I'm saying. Because Gen X wasn't that cool either, man. I gotta tell you, me and Jen talk about how cool Gen X is all the time. But I gotta tell you, the reason Gen X was cool wasn't because of Gen X. It was the counterculture of Gen X that made Gen X cool. Let's be clear. Gen X wasn't cool because of the normies. Gen X was cool because of the punks and all of the colorful characters. You know, the early days of rap were cool. You had Run DMC, you had all these freaking people. Dude, it was cool as shit. Yes, rap really came into its own in the 90s. I am definitely West Coast all day when it comes to rap, at least up until a certain point, you know, but everything, like the counterculture of Gen X was the best counterculture I've seen in a long time. Really it was. Really it was. Oh, Johan. Johan is a big... I know Johan likes Jedi stuff. He's actually got... I think it's a Sith holocron ornament. Johan, come on my show again. That'd be fun. We'll have you dressed up as a Sith Lord. We'll have some fun. Maybe we'll have CJ on too. He could talk to you. Damn it, Alpha. You don't like Star Wars? That's all right. You like Star Trek though, right? And you liked old school Doctor Who? We're cool. I don't like the new Doctor Who. I will give a pass to the one with Rose... I can't remember the seasons. I think it was like 1, 2, and 3 or something. The ones with Rose. What's her last name? Rose Tyler. And there's some others that were good, but Rose Tyler, those seasons were okay. But really, the best seasons for Doctor Who was definitely the 60s, 70s, and 80s stuff like that. That Doctor Who. My favorite Doctor was the curly redheaded guy who had the scarf. I forget his name. I forget which Doctor he was, but he was my favorite one. The really weird looking guy. That was my favorite Doctor Who. You hate Rapatropa? All of it? Oh. Yes, the return of Darth Saramundus. Azarath, what are you doing, bro? Thank you so much. That is my... Hey, honey, do me a favor. Could you go get the wizard real quick? Someone just dropped me a huge tip. I appreciate that, Azarath. We're going to bring out a squishy for you. I really appreciate that, my friend. That was a big hit. Thank you so much. I think it was Tom Baker. Let me look it up. That might have been Tom Baker. Let me look it up. Azarath, this is for you. You literally just sent me this, and it just arrived in my house. I really appreciate that, dude. That is literally what you sent me, man. Or chick, wherever you are, Azarath. Thank you. Cool name, by the way. Holy crap. You get to ask me a question, and I will answer it for you. For that kind of money, I will answer your question. Thank you so much, man. Let me see. I think it's Tom Baker. Let me just check. Tom Baker. That does sound right. Yes, Tom Baker. I don't know what it is. I liked him the best. Maybe it's because that's the one I kind of grew up on. Because it was always on PBS, and I used to watch it there, and that was always the one I saw, was Tom Baker. Now, maybe he wasn't the best, but he was the one I liked. All right, can I just say, like, you know, British television from that era was cool as shit, especially the science fiction and the comedy. Like, Monty Python, Fawlty Towers, Mr. Bean, fucking Benny Hill. Dude, what happened to our world, man? That was the norm once, but that shit was funny. Are You Being Served? Hello. All those shows, man, those were the fucking best. Those were the best. They were so creative and so good. Remember, Azarath, you can ask a big question if you want.
Johan says he was the original.
Was he though? Was he really? Thought somebody said it was the fourth. I don't know. Maybe he was. Fourth incarnation. I'll have to look it up, Johan. I'll take your word for it, though. He might have been the original. The Prisoner. I didn't see the whole thing. I saw episodes of it when I was really little. My mom made me watch little pieces of it, and I was too young to get it. I just remember the big ball chasing him around. Oh man, so there was so much, you know. See, this is the thing, isn't it? When corporations take stuff over, what happens is you have an independent industry springs up. This happens over and over in history. You have an independent, you know, grassroots cottage industry spring up. So Hollywood starts as silent movies and all this stuff, and it was a risky business. But there was good money in it, but it was a risky business. And so you had these studios, they made money on taking risks. You make a good movie, you make good money. But then at some point, and I'll get to that in a second, Azeroth. Thank you. At some point, bean counters took over the industry. And when the bean counters take over, they produce frivolous, safe pablum for morons. Because they'll spend the money on your garbage no matter what. And innovation goes out the window because there's no longer any reason to do it. It's too risky to innovate, and so nobody does it. And so you go through at least periods, if not permanent, situations where these corporate bean counters control the creative process, and it ruins it. What do you think's going on with AAA gaming right now? It used to be, when I was younger, you were guaranteed at least 3 or 4 really good video games coming from the AAA industry every year at a minimum. Now you're lucky if you get one. One big AAA game a year that's decent, if you're lucky.
Most of the time they're broken.
And most of the time, as my wife just said, they're broken on launch. To get your gaming fix, you almost have to go to the indie sphere now. My favorite games in the last decade, half of them, if not more, have been indie games. Like the big AAA games, I don't play them. I got a whole freaking screen full of them, and I'm not playing them. And then music is the same thing. And the internet is maybe the best example in living memory. When the internet first came out, only edgy weirdos got into it, like big time nerds and edgy weirdos like me. And then it became mainstream. But it was still okay because it was early. So like, I'm going to say the golden era of the internet was between 2000 and 2015. And it was petering off after 2010, but it was still pretty cool. And around 2013, 14, 15, it started to like go towards a cliff and nobody stopped, and then it went off. And then it sucks because it's all social media now. The internet used to be cool, weird websites. It's weird. Do you guys web surf anymore? Like, tell me in the comments, do you web surf or do you just go to social media? How many of you guys actually, do you even use a search engine anymore, or do you just rely on social media to filter shit to your brain? How many of you guys do what the internet used to be, which was web surfing? How many of you do that versus how many of you guys just focus almost exclusively on social media? Social media has definitely taken over my time, most of it. Okay, let me get to that question. What's up, BW Shepherd? Good to see you. Use DuckDuckGo. That one's been compromised too, by the way. I went to DuckDuckGo for a little while because they were avoiding the censorship issues, but then they got taken over. DuckDuckGo is a shadow of what it used to be. All right, let's get to that question from Azeroth. Where'd it go? All right, so Azeroth says, I got a question. What do you think about the power of using art in magical practice? Well, magical practice is art. It's always been art. It's always been what became the arts. Maybe that's the best way to put it. What we think of today as art has its origins in spirituality, period. That means magic, basically. The earliest cave paintings. That's not to say that the art wasn't there for some pragmatic purposes sometimes. Like, I'm sure some cave art was them, you know, it might not have been spiritual. Maybe some of it was saying, over here is where the deer are, you know, that kind of shit. But art in general is mainly centered on spirituality. If you do your due diligence with your anthropology and your studies, you will find out that most of the art forms that we celebrate today are either totally wound around spirituality, or they come from spirituality, or they go hand in hand so much that you can't split them up. This is because the arts are the essence of magic. The reason they're the essence of real magic is because the arts are the medium through which we take these astral, ideal, spiritual forms and begin to manifest them when they're not already present. It's also how we communicate astral forms with each other. If I draw a picture of fire, I can take something that is in my mind, in my mind's eye, put it on paper, and then put it in your mind's eye. If I tell you a story, I can take my own memories and make them your memories, secondhand, but they're still now your memories. Art is magic. This is why, to the ancients, speaking was such an integral part of magic. Now, I don't just mean to say words. I mean to project, you have to go through some of the etymology, like the word communicate has the word commune in it. When you are communicating, you are not doing this alone. You are transmitting, you're sharing, you're revealing, you're manifesting. You're communicating. It takes two. So the ancients understood that if you speak something, that is one of the first easiest ways to bring something that is in a spiritual place and make it real. To speak your will. And to speak isn't limited to talking. Because we're talking about communication here. Like your throat chakra isn't just about what you say or whatever. It's all about communion, communication, sharing, projecting. This is why when you're doing magic ritual and you're speaking the words, yeah, you can get away with just saying them, but you're supposed to intone them. Now, different people have different meanings for intone. Some people, it's gotta be harmonic or beautiful or sing-song. For some people, it's gotta be rhythmic and rhyming. Honestly, it doesn't matter, but intonation does not mean you just go, bibbidi-bobbidi-boo, we're done. There has to be a vibratory element to it. There has to be feeling in it. And you will find, historically speaking, magicians are actors, and actors are magicians. Magicians are artists, and artists are magicians. Magicians are musicians, and musicians are magicians. You cannot... Okay, this idea of the bookworm magician is a meme for a reason. In other words, we make fun of them for a reason. The bookworm magician is someone who reads and reads and reads, and they don't really write anything. They memorize magical papyri. They memorize magical manuscripts. They don't put it into practice. They don't wrestle with it. They memorize it. They're a ditto head. And these are not real magicians. I know it sounds elitist of me, but it's the same thing as someone who watches sports versus doing it. Would you call your fat uncle who watches football all day a football player? No. And the same thing for someone who's got a shelf full of magical books but has never practiced. Or they practiced once or twice and that was it. It's literally just a thing to collect. Now, when you see a real magician, it's always a moving experience, even whether it's like a witch just doing jar spells, and I shouldn't say just, but you know what I'm saying. It's something simple like just a jar spell, or a real big hoity-toity ceremonial magician that's got a full ritual set up and really knows how to intone in their style. But Go back to antiquity. The shaman wasn't a fucking bookworm. The shaman was a guy who would sing to the spirits and would do the peyotes and would do all of these things. They would drum and they would sing and they would dance and they would act. Where do you think drama comes from? Where do you think thespians come from? Why do you think just people who were pure actors were looked down on, whereas the people who were the actors in the mystery schools were elevated in society? Someone who was just a performer wasn't looked on very well or very highly by society. But those same activities, when done in a religious context, were elevated to something really important. So when you're asking me, what do I think about using the power of art in magical practice or vice versa? I'm going to tell you that they're totally intertwined, and you should absolutely make all of your magic a form of art, and all of your art should have a spiritual or magical component to it. When I am drawing a portrait of someone, which I haven't done in a very long time, I am not capturing their geometry. I want to stand up. I'm going to do this like I'm going to rant. When I do your portrait, I am not just drawing your geometry. If I do your portrait, I'm reading you, and I'm trying to capture the essence of what makes you you. That's a magical act. People call them spirit paintings. A good artist is always doing spirit paintings. I'm sorry to tell you, that's the truth. A good artist is not just doing geometry on paper. A good artist is not someone who's a human photography machine. A good artist captures the emotion, the psyche, the spirit, the subtle subtext, the body language. They capture the soul. Why do you think that photographs were such a taboo for some people? Because to them, you were stealing their soul, because unlike someone's got to draw it, you need permission, it takes time, they got to invest. Someone just click, I got your likeness. To them, that was taking their soul, because it was literally an image of them at that moment. But this is why there's a difference between a good photographer or a good artist and someone who's just taking your picture and drawing your picture. It's a magical act. A good photographer, yeah, it's a lot easier for them than somebody drawing the picture, sure. But I've heard of artists, photographers that would take days to set up a photograph. Days to set up one photograph. Just to get it perfect. The lighting wasn't right. Come back tomorrow. Just to capture it in just the right way. Sure, they could have photoshopped parts of it. They could have used artificial lighting, but they wanted to capture its true essence. That's a magical act. Let's say you're a visual artist. Now you might say, well, Thorne, I meant like I want to put sigils in things. Like I want to draw a picture and put a sigil in it. Sure, by all means, but you know, sigils don't have to be just abstract line drawings. You know, a sigil doesn't have to be this. Sigils, I know that they refer to that, but the essence of what a sigil is can be in anything. Anything can be what a sigil is. Yeah, maybe it's not technically a sigil if it's like, you know, performance like dance or something. But it can be exactly like a sigil in that it can be made up of symbolic components composed in a way that bypass your rational filter and go straight to that subconscious and work magic that way. Music, movies. I also created, I don't know if you guys know, I put it on my Patreon, but I also did a video about it. You can do sigils with phonetics. So whatever when you create a sigil, you know, say you're doing a protection sigil or something, maybe you're just keeping it just simple. It's just the word protection. So you take out your vowels, like, you know, you convert it to Hebrew type of shit, basically. And so it's literally you take out the vowels and you take out repeating letters and you get your letters, and then you morph it into a shape, and then you make a sigil out of that shape. All for the purpose of getting rid of the conscious recognition of it. Well, you know, you could take those letters and then turn them into phonetic symbols and then scramble them, much like you would make a regular sigil, and now use that as a chant or a mantra. So protect, what is it? Let's see, P, R, T, C, PRTC, right? I'm pretty sure that's it. PRTC would be the letters for protect. So you got PRTC, you'd make your sigil, your visual sigil, then you could create a phonetic sigil. And you could either keep it so it's PRCT, or you could scramble it. So you could be like ka, ta, ra, pa, or ka, pe, ru, te, pa, or something, you know, just make a phonetic thing out of it. Just syllabalize it. And maybe you might want to take the word like protect. You might be like po, ra, to, ra, te, you know, take those things and just make it into a mantra. But do it in a way that it scrambles it so it's not obvious what it means. When you listen to my Lucifer mantra, there's a part where I go, la, u, si, I, fe, ra. That is a phonetic sigil. But it is the sigil for Lucifer. I left the vowels in, but it's all the syllables of Lucifer. And I could scramble that if I wanted to make it even more weird sounding. But lau ca fe ra sounds really, what is that? People hear that and they don't know it's Lucifer. It's like, you can't tell that's the word Lucifer. It's doing its job. I'm saying Lucifer in your ear over and over and over again. That's art. So thank you, Azarath. That was a good question. Thank you. Hopefully that was a help to you. Oh, sorry about that, Solarium. I know that happens to people. I mean, I don't have that problem, I guess, but I get you, man. Like, prawns is a, for some people, that shit's a fucking, that's a real problem for some people, for sure. Like, I don't got a problem with it. It's, like, at all. But it's, like, one of those things where, like, some people, it's like anything. Like, some people just, they lose themselves, and it's really unfortunate. I'm really sorry. Especially when you're young. I guess that's when it's more likely to really hit you like that. I'm really sorry to hear that, Solarium. But, you know, I'm proud of you for maybe some people would say, don't say that to a bunch of strangers, but I'm actually proud of you for not being ashamed of it like that. I'm proud of you for rejoicing at that. That actually makes me happy. The fact that you're looking at that like, yeah, it fucked me up, but I got through it and now I'm a better person and saved my life, you know, like that's gratitude. And what I would only suggest to you after that is maintain that gratitude, but after a while, to fully process it, you got to put it all the way behind you, and it's got to be like it never happened, you know? I mean, you're going to still remember it, obviously, so it will be like it happened, but you gotta kind of let it go. Speaking from experience, you know, if you have something you regret, you know, offer that. If you want to do it like ritualistically, offer it to Azazel as a regret or as a sin. And if you do it right, you will no longer have guilt or bad feelings, and not because you're bottling it, but because it's literally processed and integrated. Yeah, BW Separate says music plays a vital role in my ceremonies. I'm kind of two minds on music. Music can be good, but I also find it to be a distraction, or it can also. The ancients used music, obviously, in magic. So there's no question that music is an important part. But there is something to be said for the music of the environment. If I'm out in the wilderness for example. I might play music, but that's just to set a mood and then I turn it off. When I'm out in the wilderness, even just my backyard, I want to hear the wind. I want to hear the crickets chirping. I want to hear the snow falling. I want to hear the animals walking through the brush. I want to be fully immersed in that natural world, and the music makes that hard. Yes, obviously, since I'm there, especially if I got a fire going, that's not going to help the matter. But if I got, like, you know, a boombox blasting with some Enya or something like that, then that kind of yanks me out of that this is real mindset. And I like that spooky silence in magic a lot, because it's in that spooky silence that you hear a lot of stuff. Why? When did porn start becoming bad? Dude, too much of anything is a bad thing, man. You just take it easy on that stuff, dude. I'm not saying look, I'm not even going to tell you, man. You should, you know, just trust me on it. Don't make it a shadow by avoiding it, but also just watch out, man. Everything has its time and place. Everybody's got to relieve their tension. That's not the problem. I'm not coming down on it. Certainly not disrespecting the industry, or I should say, I'm not disrespecting that it exists. A lot of it's smutty and shitty, and they treat the act like, you know, the best thing to happen to porn was the internet, for a reason that people don't realize. When porn was just porn the way it used to be, because it was a shady industry, only the shadiest people ran it. And so porn stars were addicted to drugs. They were, you know, they had all these, I'm not saying that's changed a lot. I'm sure that's still true in a lot of cases, but it really was predatory once upon a time. Like, I think it was, what was that show you watched with the bikers, honey? And they did porn. Sons of Anarchy. Dude, like, gangs would do the porns. You know what I mean? Like, these mafias would do the porn. And so, you know, those girls were getting fucked on drugs. They were having all these, you know, all these problems, right? And they were really being abused and all this. Basically not much different than when you got a pimp and they're beating the girl and all that. A lot of it was like that. The best thing to happen to porn was the internet, not just because, oh, now there's porn everywhere and you can access it easily, but because it took the power away from those people. Because now you don't need a pimp, you don't need a production company, you don't need somebody to shoot shit. You can just go on your little, you know, what is it, the slut library, the library of sluts. You can go to Pornhub, you can go to, you know, wherever that has a their own version of YouTube. You can go to OnlyFans, and you don't need the middleman getting in the way. I mean, wow, that saved a lot of lives, man. Sure, there's a lot more porn out there, and a lot of women are showing their stuff. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate you, brother. That saved a lot of lives, man. It really did. So you don't have to watch it. Like, if you got a problem with it, don't watch it. But I've actually known people that would really, you want to talk about like the height of hypocrisy? And if those people are listening to me right now, you probably know who you are. I've known people that would diss on porn stars, but oh boy, did they watch that shit. They'd be like, oh, she's got daddy issues. Oh, she's a slut. She's a hoe. And meanwhile, their browser history was funkier than mine. That's all I'm saying. You know, that's all I'm saying. Oh, Wyatt, spoken like a true teenager. I like that. I'm not the proper age to speak for long. Neither am I, bro. Nobody's the right age to speak for long on that matter, unless you're in that industry, I guess. Oh, man. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call a little bit now because, like I said, I wasn't going to go long tonight. I'm not really feeling it. I'm a little out of it and tired, but so let me give you guys like one more good question or one more good comment. So give me one more good question or good comment, or I'm gonna hang up the phone a little bit because I'm gonna go rest myself. I got a long night tomorrow night. I'm gonna be, so just for those who might not have caught it, if you live in the tri-state area, if you can get to Newark, New Jersey by 8 o'clock tomorrow night, I will be at QXT's. I will be doing a book signing and I Ching readings. And that will be what I will be doing tomorrow night. So good for you, Solarium. Good fight. Exactly. That human trafficking and yes, pornography is absolutely related to it. That's what I'm saying. Like, at least the internet kind of made it so that these people, women and men, don't have to be necessarily trafficked to do these things. Absolutely. It still happens. I'm just saying it's, you know, you could be a good girl with a cam show is all I'm saying, you know? You don't have to work for a pimp basically anymore.
Johan's asking which day.
Infernal Vampire, Johan. I'm bringing about 20 copies. So we'll see if they all go. Yeah, I think we're going to do either summer or early fall or late summer like last year. Like, we're going to probably aim for another East Coast meetup, probably September again. We'll see what we can make happen. I'm pretty much going there every month to every other month anyway. So like, that's a regular thing for me now. I won't be there in April or May, possibly not June, but definitely April or May. I won't be there. And I definitely won't be there in November's, but any other month, there's a 50-50 chance I'll be there every month. So, you know, and I'll usually announce when I'm going, but definitely I want to do another meetup like we did, spend a night at the hotel, you know, maybe 2 this time. We'll see if I can get a sitter for the dog. The dog's getting old, so I kind of don't know if I want to leave her for a whole day or 2, but, you know, that'll be a lot of fun. I want to do that again for sure. And if you're in the area, just get your behind, get on a plane, get on a car, and meet up at that club, and we'll hang out. We'll have a lot of fun, especially if I'm able to do it for more than a day. I don't think that next time we do this, if I do get a place to stay, it might not be in Newark. It might be just outside the city. This way, there's something to do. Like, we don't have to dodge the bad crowds, you know. We don't have to dodge the criminals. Maybe we'll do like something. We'll do a day trip into the city or something. That'd be cool. Like, okay. Okay. Any more work? No idea, Johan. Next time we have a chance to like do a vid chat or something, I'll show you what I've got written and unwritten and de-written and rewritten, because I'm in between shit right now. I'm finally coming down off of my political angst phase again. Hopefully it stays gone this time. I mean, dude, I've got so much. I mean, I could just tell you, I've got 3. Let me look at the bigger one. Like, is this the big one? All right. This one, 65,000 words. It's going to get deleted. It's never going to be printed. What about this one? Which is this one? Come on, go down. I want to see the taskbar. Come on. Just, I mean, it might make you cry is what I'm saying. To know how much has actually been. This one's still counting. This one's probably close to 100,000 already. And it's not even a third of what I wanted to write. And it got too convoluted and too, you know, it just didn't work. It just wasn't right. Yeah, it's still counting. So I've got like 3 or 4 books worth of material. A lot of it is just ranting, stream of thought, trying to organize my thoughts. You know, struggling because I'm distracted by the shit in the world. And I don't want to just do a remake, you know? So here's the full disclosure. Since 2018, when I first came back to this stuff, I was operating at an advanced, but also rather beginner level, if that makes sense. I was advanced in the sense that I understood a lot of what the new agey people were doing. And I understood it through a non-dual lens, and it was really easy for me to create a book about that, because it's stuff I've been doing off and on my whole life. Like, nobody does the same thing forever, you know. But since 2018, my knowledge of the deep magic, not that I don't consider magic to be the rituals, the sigils. I know that's what everybody else thinks of. To me, magic is, you know, what I'm really after is a metaphysical integration. And as I'm doing my research and diving every chance I get into gnosis / samadhi, every time I deep dive into that and come back out, I come out with a new realization, and then I've got to try to understand it and integrate it. And I've had to expand out of Advaita into Neoplatonism, into Gnosticism, a little bit into Kabbalah, but mostly not, because I'm not really, some about Kabbalah doesn't click in my brain. I get it. It's just, to me, it's like, you know, some people like chocolate, some like peanut butter or whatever. To me, it doesn't, like Eddie's the Kabbalah guy. I'm not really into it. I think my problem is I like things simple. I feel like if things get really complicated with, you know, too much specificity in the practice, you know, like okay, thank you, honey. To me, the highest truth is very simple, and I'm more interested in that highest truth because the highest truth is what informs everything else. If your understanding of the highest truth is right, you can do magic. I've made this joke. CJ probably knows what I'm about to say because I think he thinks it's funny. You can do magic by pissing counterclockwise in the toilet. You don't need rituals. You don't need sigils. You don't need any of this stuff. When you understand the absolute, when you understand the absolute, magic is whatever you want it to be. Magic can work no matter what it is. And it's not about getting stuff. That's 101 is the getting stuff. The real goal, you know, there's a lot of people, like someone who's like a thaumaturgist, someone who works miracles. They look down on self-help style magic. They look down on ceremonial magicians that they're only concerned with ascension and shit. They don't like that. They want to be able to restructure reality at their will. And my worldview is that you're already doing that. You know, when you transcend the material realms enough and you recognize gnosis and mystical gnosis, the absolute union of the divine and the self as one thing, when you have that realization, you realize you're already, the structure of reality is already to your making. It's already you doing it. You just don't have any memory of it. That's right, Johan. Johan knows a lot, by the way. If you guys don't know, he's been a guest on a few times. He is the best of both worlds. He is a bookworm, but he also practices. So I appreciate Johan a lot. Patchwork says, when I win the lottery, I'm coming to visit. Dude, the way you keep super chatting me, it's like you won the lotto. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I know you're a little far. I forget if you're Indiana or what. I forget where you said you're from, or Ohio or something. I forget what. But, you know, maybe one of these days I'll move or something and we'll end up in the same zip code. Varun Rishi Verma asks, best book for protection magic. Ooh, okay. I don't have one. But I will say that the best protection is to prosecute your interactions with reality from a truly compassionate place. The most protective energy you can get is to be compassionate. When you are compassionate, you are in a sense mitigating the tension between you and the world. Because all curses operate via the see, I'm glad we're getting to these topics. I wish we were on this all this time. real curses are rooted in the tension or contradiction or competition between you and reality. So when you're acting from a place of compassion, especially non-attached compassion, so you're not, when I say compassion, I'm not saying go out and fix the world. When I say compassion, that's actually more of a hands-off approach. I mean that. Real compassion is very passive. Real compassion isn't trying to save the world. It holds its hand out. Like, real compassion is one of the first to hold their hand out and say, I can help you. You don't want help? Good. Don't mind me. And when we hold our hand out, we don't get in your face about it. It's like, I'm here, my door's open. It's up to you. You got to make the first step. So real compassion isn't a busybody do-gooder right-hand pather. Real compassion is just as likely to destroy as they are to heal. In fact, they're more likely to do nothing. So if you are truly compassionate, if your place is from a compassion, a truly, sincerely, non-attached, enlightened, compassionate place, curses just, there's nothing to hit. That doesn't mean that they never work. It's just that there's far fewer tensions in your life. If you then back that up with protective magic, even the simplest shit, a few words, a few sigils, a few protective spirits, any one of those things, then you're really just looking at your own petard that's getting hoisted by itself. You know what I mean? Then you're really just looking at your own self sabotage, your own karma, so to speak. Not that karma's a justice system. Anybody that says that karma's a justice system doesn't understand it. Like this new age thing. Karma is a system of cosmic justice where if you do this, then that bad thing will happen. Nope. It's the law of return just for the Asians. No. It means that you're going to have a bad reincarnation. Not exactly. Karma means action. It's literally a pattern of behavior. It's a habit. And the most karmic thing you can do is to do things from an egoistic, intentional place. In techie lingo, the attack surface is smaller. Yeah, that's true. Exactly. There's less to hit. And I know this for a fact. This is because I don't want to sound like I'm, saying I'm a great guy or something, because I don't really think that way, but I'm a hands-off guy. And so people throw curses at me all the time, and the most I get is maybe a leaky roof. Why did my roof leak? Because I didn't deal with it. You know what I mean? That's a tension. That's a tension between me and reality. I put off the problem, and so it hit me in the face. You deal with all of this stuff from a compassionate place, there's far less cracks for the curse to split up and break apart. There's far less tension or controversial stuff in your life. Now, by comparison, if you're a shit stirrer, if you're an asshole, if you're a discompassionate asshole, you're an easy target for a curse. I don't even have to curse you. I can just blow you, kid. Fuck you. And you're going to bang. Some might have noticed the oomph in that, by the way. There was a little oomph in that. Didn't mean to. There's a little oomph in that. Turn away from your screen. Yes, karma is cause and effect, Patchwork. That's literally one way that they literally interpret it. Action, cause and effect. That's literally what it means. But truly understanding it, you've got to get rid of the whole, it's a system of cosmic justice. Karma, I gave an analogy of it. It's like this. Karma is, you see a brick wall in front of you, and you punch it, and it hurts. Cause and effect. And if you're in a place of real enlightened learning, you've realized if I punch that brick wall, it hurts, so you don't punch it anymore. So karma is not cause and effect justice, it is just cause and effect. If I go out and I treat people like shit, people are going to treat me like shit. But if I go out and treat people well, that doesn't mean I'm going to get treated well. It just means that I'm not adding to the negative. That's all it means. I'm not asking for it, I guess you could say. I'm not doing actions that make it more likely. And in fact, there's no such thing as bad or good karma. It's all karma. One of the most karmic things you can do, meaning negative, is to do good deeds on purpose with the intention of benefiting from it. Well, I was bad to that person today, so tomorrow I'm going to donate $100 to make up for it. That is karma as fuck, and you don't even know it because you think it's a scale system. Karma is a momentum system. Don't think of karma as a binary or a good or bad. Think of it as a momentum. And the more you go in a direction, the more you're going to reap the rewards. The objective is to not be going in any direction, not to have any. When you're going in a direction or you're going with momentum, you're the edge of the wheel. You're on the cycle of samsara. You want to spiral into the middle until you start. The progression from the cycle of samsara to enlightenment is you're going around the wheel to you become like a hamster on the wheel that's like a treadmill, and you end up spiraling in towards the middle, and now when you're in the middle, you're turning around with the wheel. You're watching the wheel turn, but you're fixated on the one spot you want to be, so it's all still spinning. And then at some point you let go and you just watch the wheel spin around you. And once you realize you're the observer, you're the hub of the wheel. You're not even the spokes. You're all of it. But this, the center of you is consciousness, not this. When you realize that's your center, you're the hub of the wheel, and the whole wheel is spinning around you. You're no longer in a momentous state. Yes, things still happen. You might get into a car accident. You might do something wrong. But there's no karma there. It's not that an enlightened person never does anything wrong. It's not that an enlightened person never exhibits anger or pain or sickness. It's that they are unmoved by it because they know they're the consciousness that's observing it, and so they're free. And so their body can do whatever the hell it wants. But an interesting thing happens when you achieve that realization. When you have that realization, like they say, free your mind, the rest will follow. In a very similar sense, when you have that realization, habitually you do the stupid things less and less and less. And maybe if you're lucky, you hit a point where you're no longer fighting the wind, you are the wind. You're no longer fighting the maelstrom, you are the maelstrom. You are the Tao, and you no longer suffer the consequences of the Tao because you're it. Solarium says, I don't ascribe to karma personally, but similarly, again, I would say most people, when they hear the word karma, they have no idea what it means. And respectfully, I would suggest that if you really look up the meaning of karma, one of the problems you're going to have is that even those Eastern traditions that talk about it, these days, they are the religions that are talking about it. And they're not talking about it from a metaphysical or philosophical perspective. They're usually talking about it as a justice system, because that's what's been imported into the West, especially via those new age hippie yoga pants wearing things. That's usually what gets implanted here. But if you go to a more mystical, not religious perspective, if you go to something more like Advaita Vedanta and look up their perspective of karma, I'm not saying I agree with it wholly, but that is way more essential, way more basic, way more fundamentally metaphysical, not you did this and now that. It's still cause and effect, but it's no longer you do this and this is the punishment. It's now, it's momentum. And as momentum, it's undeniable. Like, you don't have to ascribe to it. I could call it something else and you'd agree with it. If I just changed the word and said honor is momentum, you'd probably go, oh yeah, well, that's karma. There's a momentum behind it. And in this case, I would say most people's understanding of honor is it's not a moving thing. It's a rock. Like when we look at honor in most cultures, we're talking about someone that's a stone in the middle of a river. The world is rushing past them, and they are a stone that they're upholding their honor no matter what. They don't care what wave comes. They don't care if they get splashed and destroyed. They're standing still like a stone. Well, they're the hub of the wheel. That's what I'm saying. Someone who's truly honorable is living the hub of the wheel life. Even in their defiance, they are unmoved. They are unmoved. So that which leads to dishonor is momentum. That's right, Johan. Johan very brightly pointed out most of the Eastern spirituality that was imported to the West was translated into the language of exoteric Christianity, and the same could be said for the pagan traditions and especially the Norse traditions. We have no fucking clue, really, what the year 600 Viking-type Norse people really believed. We have no fucking clue. I should say we have no clue, but we have only like a little drizzle of salt clue. We don't really know. There's a guy I watch sometimes who, really good researcher, really good anthropologist on Norse subjects, and he talked about the runes. And he said, and I agree with him from what I'm seeing, from a purely academic perspective, the runes have always been used in magic. That's not an issue. But the idea that each rune has a specific meaning, like the Hebrew alphabet or the tarot, or like the way we use the runes today, that there's no evidence for it that they have so far, until you get to the later stuff, which implied it as an interpretation. So, for example, what is it? Fehu is we call it like wealth or whatever, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I really cared about runes. I stopped using them, which is kind of sad. I probably should get back into them more. Yes, there's no question that it used that, but that doesn't mean it meant that magically. So yes, the Norse absolutely wrote spells with runes. But the idea that each rune was a special power, that's a later development anyway. I'm not saying it didn't happen, because neither is this guy. He's saying that's just not how it used to be. That's a later development, like, I don't know exactly when, but certainly not traditionally. So it's indisputable that there are rune staves and rune spells and words and magic spells. No doubt about that. It's just, did each rune have a meaning originally? The academics say no. Solarium, I don't usually charge for just like an interview, especially if it's like going to be on your blog or something. Usually interviews I do for free because there's an understanding that it is mutually beneficial already if it's going to be published. So if you're on Discord or something, or I think my Linktree has my email address in there. If you want to send me a show program, like a show plan, if you want to email me your idea and specifically what you want to talk about and what you want to do with it, I'll consider it and I'll get back to you, because I would be interested in that up to a point. Absolutely. I like doing interviews. I really do. I got to space them out to when I can do them, but interviews are fine with me. I'm actually more likely these days to do an interview than a consult. So you wouldn't have to pay me for this. Just hook me up. I don't know what kind of following you have. Maybe you got like a huge audience. Maybe you're like EA or something. I don't know. But that's not, if you're going to do an interview with me and publish it, hit me up. I like doing interviews. I do. I'm usually better behaved for interviews too. Fuck you, Wyatt. That's a good one. He says he's going to stop the stream. I leave, come back 2 hours later. He's still going. There's no sign of his spiritual momentum slowing at all. Why does this happen? It's the only thing that stops me from calling this channel perfection. Funny. He's right. He's not wrong. Like I said, man, I'm Alan Watts, but with demons. I ain't got no sense of, you know, I'm an irreverent motherfucker. I'm an irreverent monk, man. Better behaved. Who the fuck is that? Yepson. Is that the flesh machine? Fleshy. Is that you, Fleshy? Why are you here, Fleshy? Why are you here? You don't hang out on Thursdays anymore. Are you up? Why are you awake, dude? It's late. You should be in bed. That sucks, because I was about to fucking end the stream, too. Now Fleshy's here. He's trying to take the piss out of me. I learned that from English people. Oof. All right. Jump to present. Let me just see what I missed here. Looks like somebody pinged me on something. Yeah, I don't care about that. All right. Fleshy, you're invited to do a stream soon. Everybody's asking about you. Let's do a stream again soon. Just for the fun of it. No pressure, but yeah, let's do a stream soon. Just one. So, all right, guys. I think I'm gonna call it. Wyatt's making fun of me. Fleshy showed up, and he's gonna steal the show. So I might as well let him have it. Next Thursday. All right, that might be Johan's Thursday if he wants. But yeah, that'd be cool. In fact, the two of you together would be dope as fuck. Johan, do you want to come on with Fleshy next week? Just let me know. Let me know in Discord or something, and we'll set it up and we'll do it. I would love to do that show. I haven't had a good, really, like we had Eddie on not too long ago. That was a good show. Let's have some more guests on soon. I've been trying to get some guests on. People are like, so before winter of 2022, I had like 6 people messaging me wanting to come on for streams. And I was like, I kind of can't because I'm doing this and this and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, but let's do it first thing in the new year. And then New Year hits and everyone just disappeared. I was like, you guys want to do it? Nah, I got something to do. So. I'm sure he'll let you on, Fleshy. He loves you, man. He's a fan of both of us, man. He's a good guy. I like Johan. He's a cool guy. Johan, my buddy. But we'll see. We'll see, because I don't know if Johan wants to talk the politics. He might want to just talk the magic, which would probably be the better choice. So if he just wants to talk the magic, we will just talk the magic, and we'll have all 3 of us talk the magic. So I could always have him on for a second interview for a political stream if he wants, because he's very politically informed and minded too. So I think we'll stick to this. We'll do a magic stream next week. We'll see if all three of us are going to be on. That'd be a really good idea. All right, Salam. Yeah, hit me up on Discord. Just be aware, I'm better with email, because on Discord I have my notifications off for people that are randos, if that makes sense. Because like Facebook, I get tons of pings and shit from randos who want my time, and I'll try to keep my eye out, but hit me up on my email if it's there. If it's not, I'll write it in here. Hold on, just in case. I'll put it here, because I have a professional email for that. So the nice thing about the email is I can usually put it right to to my calendar potentially too. So if you don't mind, I like the email better if you don't mind. So when you email me your proposal, and also email me your channel or wherever you're going to post this, so I can peruse it and make sure it's cool. And I don't think that worked, actually. Hold on. That didn't work. What if I put it in quotes? Will that fix it? Yeah, because I put a space in there. Like, what the hell? No. Hold on. What the helly ball? Let me see. It might be on my link tree. Let me see. And you guys gotta use my link tree more. because otherwise I got too many links going. Man, this is annoying. Okay, so I'm not sure how to post this without all the codes activating, because for some reason because of the @ symbol. So I'm gonna do this. All right, you see how it still did it. Freaking dicky do. For some reason, it is taking the DH Thorne part and tagging me with it. So, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to post it, I guess. Let me see if I can add it in a different way. Hold on. This is annoying. I gotta go to bed. Let me see. Let me see if I can do it this way. Stop trying to turn it into a damn email. Okay, let's try that. Nope, won't let me do it there either. Okay. This is annoying. Guys, I apologize. I can see why nobody has my email address, because it's really hard to get, because... Alright, I guess you're gonna have to Discord me, bro. I'll have to catch it. I apologize. I feel like a complete penis. But, Fleshy says it worked fine. Just okay, I'm posting it. The problem is that it puts a space where the DH Thorne is. Let me see if it does. Okay, no, it doesn't do that. All right, guys, I feel I need a tech support. Tech support. Try that. See if it goes. There should be no spaces. It should be d.h.thorne666@gmail.com. That should work. I don't know why Linktree will let me put email addresses in there. I guess you have to upgrade for that, and I ain't paying for that shit. But yeah, that's kind of annoying that it won't let me put. You know, people used to get it through my website, which I took down. I'm still working on. So. All right, Solarium. Yeah, Johan's saying it's still there. So try that one. Just if it puts any spaces in it, delete any spaces that are in there. It should be d.h.thorne666@gmail.com. No spaces. So if it copy pastes with a space, fix the spaces. It should work. Send me, just fire off an email, and then if you don't hear anything, just hit me up on Discord. That link works. So all right, cool. All right, cool. All right, guys, that's definitely it. Fleshy, love you, brother. Good to see you. Johan, good to see you. Johan, hit me up on Discord. You know what to do, and we'll plan it up for next week if you want to do it, if you got the time. If not, I'll just have Fleshy without you. Yeah. All right. Alpha says it's cool without... Alpha says it doesn't have spaces. Thank you, Alpha. All right, cool. Good to know. All right. So that's it for this week. I will see you guys next week. Reminder again, tomorrow is an Iron Garden event. And if you can make it, that'd be cool. If you can't, that's also cool. But if you can make it, that'll be cool as hell. I'll be posting it a little bit later, or something. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good one, and don't do it to people that don't like it.